Let's talk about the first look at Duskmourn. So MagicCon Amsterdam was over the weekend, and we got a look at Bloomburrow and Duskmourn. We actually got quite a bit about Duskmourn because it wasn't landing with the community as easily as Bloomburrow was. So Wizards was making an effort to help people understand what's going on. The basic gist of Duskmourn is that it is an entire plane that has been taken over by essentially a haunted house. There is a demon called Valgavoth who was trapped in this house. He was imprisoned and he couldn't escape, so he expanded his prison until it took over the entire plane. And it's now become this sort of horror-filled hell dimension, featuring a lot of the tropes of 70s and 80s horror, or just modern horror in general. The plot features this group of 5 going to try and rescue Nashi. Nashi disappeared into Duskmourn one day, and so they're all going to rescue him. I've seen some comments about why'd the Wanderer leave again. Rescuing the son of the woman she killed is pretty strong motivation. Now we got a Planeswalker guide with a ton of information and some previews. I want to point out a few key things. First, thanks to the Omen Pass, Valgavoth now has unprecedented access to the rest of the multiverse and is luring people in. An exterior door of the house will appear, and as sort of a trap, people walk through. They're now stuck in this dimension because Valgavoth can rearrange the house, or the house rearranges to his will. The house is populated by a lot of creatures, some directly created by Valgavoth, and others that are sort of byproducts. Nightmares are representations of specific fears that torment the people with those fears. Cellar Spawn are these sort of wicked manifestations of Valgavoth's daydreams. Glimmers are these manifestations of hope that help protect survivors. This is how people have survived for so long. There are a few different ways people have survived for this long. There is the Cult of Valgavoth, which follows sort of both folk horror and cosmic horror cult vibes. There are glitch ghosts, which are from the spirit realm that has sort of been pushed out with the house, and you can see it through windows and such, and they can push their way into the house, and they have a conceit to look like TV static. There are the Razorkin, which are sort of cross between the Cenobites from Hellraiser, but also 80s slashers. There are Wicker Folk, which play into the folk horror vibe, think Midsummer. Quicken Toys, which fall into the Chucky trope. And, of course, your garden variety demons. My favorite of these groups, however, are the Beasties. They fall into, this benevolent monster trope. They are adorable. They're sort of your imaginary friends. Your Monsters, Inc. protector monsters. We also see a new kind of gremlins, inspired by the obvious movie franchise. And back to the team, we're going to see Tyvar, the Wanderer, Kaito, Nico, and Zimone working together. And they all sort of fall into various horror movie tropes. Obviously, Tyvar is the jock. Look at this fanny pack, though. I think these glimmers are pretty cool. They start out as creatures, and if they die, they come back as just an enchantment, which is sort of an inversion on these kinds of cards we've seen before, where they start as enchantments and then will turn on and become creatures. They gave us a very clear The Ring reference here. You can pause and read it and see exactly how close it is. And there's a lot of moth motifs. And the commander decks for the set bring back 2 very neat things. The first is Aminatu gets her first card in years. And the second is that Archenemy is back. Now, if you don't know what Archenemy is, it is a variant that came out around the time as Planeshift. It's a 1 versus 3 format where the person who is the archenemy gets a higher life total and has this additional scheme deck to help them out that does very powerful things every turn. The other commander decks feature a new character called Winter, who acts as a guide for the team, a Zimone deck called Jump Scare, and of course one starring the demon himself, Valgavoth, called Endless Punishment. With the team itself, this is the first time we'll be seeing some of these characters again after March of the Machine and seeing who retained their spark and who didn't. We now know Tyvar did not because he has a card already, and we had the Wanderer's card I showed at the beginning. We haven't seen Nico or Kaito yet. So what do you think of Duskmourn? This is probably the farthest into modern-ish looking technology that Wizards has ever done. Now, all the tech here, I should note, has existed. There's just been like more fantasy-fied or sci-fi versions of it.